they're playing the patient game. You know, when they traded Matthew Stafford and they got a boatload of picks, that was them saying, listen, we are going to be patient here. We've been dysfunctional for 40 years. 45 years ain't going to make a difference. We're going to take 5 years to just go from the ground up, go from the roots, and build back something that could be known as a solid culture compared to a situation where careers go to die.
The most polarizing, fascinating, interesting debate show is live in the huddle.
Yeah, man. As we promised on the last show, we was going to focus on the NFL draft on Monday because we clearly couldn't do that on Friday because we got the bombs that we got with the A.J. Brown trade, with the Marquis Brown trade, and we had to talk about that extensively and our playoff work, NBA playoff work, that is. So we had to talk about that and focus on that because, man, I mean, indeed, that stole the headlines. But today, now that the draft is complete, it works actually better for us because now we get to see all the draft moves and process and decipher in our mind who is the biggest winner, loser, middle pack, and still of this year's NFL draft. And Zay, I'm looking at you, bro. I'm about to throw you up there to the panel. You know how the sound go. I know I botched the sound, bro. I don't got no type of tempo in my voice action, but it is what it is, Zay. I throw that rock over to you to start off with the biggest winner.
All right, so for me, the biggest winner is my New York Jets in this draft. I think I was really enthused with the picks they had, going with Sauce Gardner and Ahmad Gardner at cornerback that they desperately needed. They needed defensive players. Most importantly, they needed defensive back. They lost Marcus May to the Saints, I believe, during the offseason. I believe so. And then, that was like their guy, their defensive back, the defensive back on their team. And they was able to get Sauce Gardner at number 4. And I think that was a beautiful pick that they needed because I personally wanted them to go O-line early, but it was more of a once they got the defensive backs out the way, I thought, okay, this draft is gearing up pretty well. Then at number 10, we assumed because of reports that Debo was going to be traded to the Jets at number 10. But then they drafted Garrett Wilson, another great pick, a guy who arguably people were stating as the best receiver in the draft, despite me saying I would rather see Drake London or Treylon Burks as the first 2 receivers off the board. And I think that was what I was saying prior to the draft. But Garrett Wilson, after reviewing tape and seeing what this guy is doing, his brother is explosive, and I think is going to mesh well with Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore also a guy they drafted last year who actually played lights out as the season went on for the Jets. And then at 26, they got Jermaine Johnson. That was a big draft. They needed a edge, and they got it. They got 3 first-round picks. Their 3 first-round picks were all on the top 10 draft board, and they was able to get it with all their first-round picks. That was something that was beautiful to see as a fan, and happy to know that the Jets got their major roles that they need to fill fulfilled literally during this draft. I think it's going to be good. All 3 players are going to have 5th-year options, so now we get to really see them grow into the potential that we are hoping to see. The AFC is tough. The Jets have a very tough schedule, and it's only going to make diamonds at this point because at the end of the day, pressure makes diamond. I like the Breece Hall draft. I like Jeremy Ruckert. I think those 2 guys are going to do well. I think the Jets running back situation is not solidified yet. So I think Breece Hall has the opportunity to really go in there and work on anything he could possibly bring to the Jets team. He could possibly even take that starting role if Michael Carter goes in there sleeping this offseason. So I think this is going to be an opportunity for this Jets draft. It's really good draft. I think they filled every role that they needed. They got Max Mitchell as a tight end as well. As a tackle as well. So they picked an offensive lineman. I think this Jets draft and in totality is exactly what the fans need to see, and I think it's going to be really well going into the season.
Yeah, you can't deny that New York had a good draft. Both the Giants and the Jets, they really showed out, and they took a lot of good talents, and some of these talents fell into their lap, where it's like, listen, you just take the best player on the board. That's all you got to do. It doesn't take Einstein. It doesn't take the smartest dude in America to take the best player available. And that's what I thought the Jets did and the Giants did. Well, when we get to my biggest winner of the NFL draft, I will look no further than Baltimore, the Baltimore Ravens. I think, me personally, the guys that I like to draft, right, is the guys that can help my team tonight. Guys that I can literally call after they just got drafted and say, yo, suit up tonight, bro. We going out there on your first day. We going to war. Okay? Hello, rookie. Welcome to the NFL. Those are the guys that I like. And they got those guys starting with Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. To me, that's literally probably the second or third biggest steal in an entire draft. You're talking about a guy that knows how to undercut receivers, know how to run sideline to sideline, is very big, athletic. He's a guy that can start for the Ravens. We all know they're missing that safety. Okay, I believe a couple years ago they let go Earl Thomas, ET3, and they got a guy that can fill that void, a void that was still missing from this team. Now you got that guy over there that can play from Notre Dame. Smart dude too as well. And obviously you go to Notre Dame, you're a smart athlete if you could go to Notre Dame. He didn't have the best combine. That's probably why he fell. But I always tell people not to judge the combine, okay, because that literally is nothing. You got to go on a football field at the end of the day regardless and play against other players. So I wouldn't use the combine to scare me. Clearly, a lot of teams did. The Ravens didn't, and it's going to be rewarded for them with his play. Another move that I like is center Tyler Lindenbaum. Okay, yes, I did believe I pronounced his name correctly. Shout out to Leel. Woohoo! Pat on the back. One of the best interior O-linemen in the class, can help bolster that Ravens offensive line that obviously predicates itself on a running game, that predicates itself on their quarterback literally running the whole show, being the entire offense. Lamar Jackson is being that superstar, almost like Steph Curry, you know, of the NBA, of the NFL, because of what he can do rushing the football. You need to protect Lamar Jackson. They did so with that center move. Edge rusher David Ojabo. If it wasn't for a torn Achilles, the Ravens would not have got the opportunity to draft the cat. He tore his Achilles, and that was one of the rare videos that I saw where I actually sent it to you, I believe I did, where he tore his Achilles and he got no help, bro. Guy was in agony. You know, you see a couple scouts just there reading the newspaper while this dude was out here, you know, hurt. Well, guess what? He's going to have a lot to prove coming back off of that torn Achilles. I like that move for David Ojabo. Another move that they got is Daniel Fayel. I know I'm botching his name. It is what it is. That's what happens when you have a hard name to pronounce. People gonna botch it. Anyway, Danielle. I'm gonna call him Danielle. He's an offensive lineman, which is the heaviest player in the NFL right now. 6'8", 384 pounds. This is a guy that you can use his size in the interior to help your running game, to help Lamar Jackson, and one in the pass. The guy can use his size. That's basically what it is. I mean, I'm not sure about his skill, but I'm sure about his size. The guy's a monster. They got Frankenstein on their team, Bigfoot, whatever. They got that guy on the line. So I think when you look at the Ravens, they got all the things they needed. You know, clear. I'm not a big fan of the move that they made trading Marquis Brown. You know, that wasn't, you know, the draft moves. That was more so a side hustle that they did during the draft. So even though I wanted to count it against the Ravens, I'm not. I think from getting guys and drafting guys that can be plug-in and play guys, I think they excelled in that department. Matter of fact, that's like the second year in a row that I picked the Ravens as my winner. They were at least like in my top three. Like they were literally my biggest winners last year. They know how to draft. They are very good drafters. They know how to scout talent, find guys that fit their mold, that fit their culture. They're very great at that. I do think, however, to put the bow on the present, to put the icing on the cake, make no mistake, they need Deebo Samuel. Okay, they need to fill that void at wide receiver, which clearly they're going to have to do. And I think if you get a guy like Deebo Samuel, that guy can fit in that system. You're not going to get free agents to go to Baltimore. It's not going to happen. They are not known to give wide receivers lucrative numbers and to get them the ball. That's why Marquis Brown left. You're not going to say or have a wide receiver say, I'm going to go to Baltimore. It's just not going to happen, even with Lamar Jackson over there. So you're going to have to trade for your guys or draft your guys. Let's see if they trade for Deebo Samuel, who still wants to be traded, who still didn't get dealt. I think if you add him on that offense, because his ability to be a tailback, which could definitely help in an offense that's predicated on the run. Being able to get him the ball in space with Lamar Jackson, my God, I'll be up all night, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the AFC North will be too if they make that move and pull the trigger. So, yeah, the Ravens are my biggest winners.
All right, I'm going to jump to my loser real quick because it's a quick loss. Because you ain't know who it is, and I'm just going to beat the dead horse with it. Green Bay Packers. They just can't draft. They drafted is terrible. It doesn't make sense. You drafted Quay Walker at number 1, your first round pick. Even the analysts were like, why would you draft Quay Walker? He wasn't even the best defender on Georgia. Like, why would you? What was the purpose of that? Like, it doesn't make sense what they're doing. They need a receiver. They went for a linebacker. You know, they didn't get a receiver until Christian Watson, which is a second-round pick, which is not terrible. A second-round receiver, that's fine. But you should have got a guy. You should have got a guy that Aaron Rodgers could work with because he's going to need a guy during this damn season. He has nobody. And I don't know if Christian Watson is going to be that guy for the Green Bay Packers. I don't think so. You can have a different opinion, and that's totally fine. I just don't think they have what it takes Christian Watson to be that guy. I think those other receivers on the board at that time, at 34, that they could have selected, that could have been a better option for them. But, you know, it's the Green Bay Packers. They hope they paying Aaron Rodgers $50 million a year to make him some moves. So I guess that's what he's going to do. Just make miracles happen every play at 40 years old. So let's see how that's going to work. I don't like the draft. I think the draft is very lackluster, and it was just sloppy on the front office. This front office is once again going to tarnish this Packers legacy. They're not going to win nothing. And then the Vikings they're just way better than them. Their roster, the Vikings roster, up and down is way better than the Packers right now. And if the Vikings somehow, some way don't take this division from the Packers, they need to move to a different state. Go somewhere else. Because that's going to be disgusting if they don't do it.
I'm going to respond to that Packers take after these brief messages. Pick up where Zay left off about the Green Bay Packers and them being his biggest loser. The Packers are the team that I will put in the middle of just what I expect from them, whether it's one of the winners or one of the losers. And the reason why I can see them being either way, and that's a fascinating argument there, is because they did get wide receivers. They got 2 of them. And when you look at the guys that they got Christian Watson, wide receiver from North Dakota State, a guy that's very athletic, good size, good length, could be used as a kick returner as well. We all know special teams is a glaring issue for the Green Bay Packers, their Achilles heel. The reason why they got, one of the main reasons why they got sent home packing in that NFC divisional round. You got a guy, Christian Watson, that I do believe is a solid wide receiver that could have some upside there. When you look at the other wide receiver that they got, the other guy was from Nevada. His name is Romeo Doubs. This man is a speedster. He could catch up the deep ball. You know, he seems like a valid, solid pick play right there. When you look at Matt LaFleur's offense, one of the little nuances about his offense is guys with speed. He loves those type of dudes. And MVS was one of those dudes that left the team to go to Kansas City. His speed was used as a decoy so that safeties could play over the top. Now you got some guys that potentially could be plugged in there and fill those voids to a certain extent. Now, listen, you trading Devontae Adams. The only way you were going to be able to overcome that void by losing the best wide receiver in the National Football League was to either be aggressive and trade up, which is why they're in the middle on the losing side, because you can deflect that argument to me and say, well, they should have been the aggressor. They should have moved up and got a Traylon Burks. They should have moved up and got a Drake London and one of those guys. And I can't deny that. But we know the Packers for who we know them to be, which is a team that operates like what they are, a low-market franchise. They don't operate like the Rams in a big market. They don't operate like the Buccaneers, who operates like they're in a big market. They don't operate like those aggressive teams that's trying to win football games. They're more so predicated on the future. Okay, let's draft for the future. Let's focus on the future. That's why Jordan Love is on this roster right now. Okay, and that's why we partially got into the same boat with Aaron Rodgers before Aaron Rodgers took that bag and hushed up. So I do think they got some value with those picks, but I do believe, and I won't be mad at people that said they should have been a little bit more aggressive, and I think their job is still not done. You still got free agency. I think Odell Beckham Jr. over there will make a whole lot of sense. You get Odell Beckham Jr. along with these 2 rookies, then maybe you're still good enough with Aaron Rodgers' talent to still come out of that conference. But overall, it's going to be a long shot for them to overcome the loss of Devontae Adams, to be honest, unless they get Deebo Samuel. But yeah, that's my. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It's just her.
Yeah, but my biggest loser, look no further than the New England Patriots. Oh man, God, they had a shit ass draft, bro. This is the same team that drafted N'Keal Harry over Deebo Samuel. The same team that drafted N'Keal Harry over DK Metcalf. I mean, listen, I see why Tom Brady left the body there, bro. I would too. You know what I'm saying? The GOAT. Come on. I mean, listen. Did they even try? Listen, I've been on the record, and I know a lot of people is going to give me that lecture of Bill Belichick. Oh, he's the greatest coach of all time. Yeah, I know that. You know what I'm saying? Claire, I mean, the guy won more Super Bowls than anybody. I mean, that's obvious. Whoa, tell that to somebody else that don't watch the game, not myself. Look, Bill Belichick, I tell people all the time, his ego is the biggest downfall of this Patriots team. Okay, he needs to get out of that 1999 playbook. Okay, like I said in the chat, the guy's trying to find the next Doug Williams when he should be trying to find the next Mahomes. Okay, and Herberts and Lamar's. He's out here trying to find the next Doug Williams, bro. I mean, if Doug Williams had a son, he'll be the first pick for the New England Patriots. Listen, they need to draft better, bro. The last two drafts was terrible. Okay, the draftees did not make an impact on this team. I remember I seen that famous highlight of the dog sitting behind the desktop of Bill Belichick. Maybe it's the dog that's making these moves. All right, maybe you need to let your dog stop drafting, guy, and draft yourself, because this looks like a draft that a dog will make. They don't know what he's doing. I mean, let's go to the picks here. You're talking about offensive lineman Cole Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Strange. It's strange to be strange, huh? Cole Strange. Man's footwork is suspect. Okay, man's footwork is suspect. You got wide receiver Taekwondo. Taekwondo Thornton. I said Taekwondo. I mean, come on. What is these funny names? All right? Quarterback Marquis Jones. Bro, I'm trying so hard not to laugh. Yo, these Patriots, bro. I'm sorry, bro. Pack these cats up, bro. Pack these cats up. When you look at this AFC East and you see the Dolphins, who traded for Tyreek Hill and got Jalen Waddle, okay, and got a good defense. When you see the Bills that bolstered their defense in the offseason to complement that great offense, when you see all these, even the Jets might be better than the Patriots this year, bro. Honestly, if Zach Wilson can show me something, Zach Wilson, show me a little something, bro. If he can show me a little something, I would not be surprised the Patriots coming last in this division. Mm-hmm. And I feel sorry for Mac Jones, okay, because when you're a guy like Mac Jones, yes, you can argue he went to a good situation for the first couple years, but as he start to smell himself a little bit and want certain things and want big money and want big fancy cars and toys, Bill Belichick is not the guy to supply it to him. That's just not how he operates. He'll rather give him Cole Strange. That's my biggest loser, ladies and gentlemen, the Patriots. Anyway, let's go to the biggest steal of the draft. Zay, I'll pass it to you. Your biggest steal of the draft.
And I think it's going to be a tough one to really kind of gauge, and because they call it a steal of the draft. I might have to go with. It's not really a steal because it was early in the draft, but I was going to say Kayvon Thibodeau on the Giants. This is a guy who's rumored to be number one. Like this is supposed to be the number one pick off the board. Like, and a lot of people had him or Aiden as number one, and the Jags went a whole different route. I think the Giants getting Kayvon at 5 was like a blessing in disguise for them because they needed a guy on defense. They needed a stout player, and the Giants, I think, were, I guess, grateful for that pick because I don't know who were their mock to get drafted. I forgot who was their mock draft at number 5. To be honest, I think it was Neal, and I think they went with Kayvon when he was available, and then they still was able to get Neal at number 7. I think the Giants had to arguably the steals of the first round just because they were able to get the two guys that they wanted to get at number 5 together on the same team. So I think I don't have like one particular like player in percent and like in my mind that's like an automatic steal. But I think those two guys, like those are big picks. Like, I know it's tough to gauge a steal at the number 5 and number 7. That's they have high expectations as the number 5 and number 7 respectively. But if I had to go with a guy, in my opinion, that I feel like will have a great season, Um, I may have to go with Kyle Hamilton on the Ravens. I think that pick, like you stated before, that was a big winner for that Ravens defense. And Ravens is known for defense. So I think him being input in one of the best defensive minds in all of football, on the best defensive team in football, in my opinion, from a discipline standpoint, I think Kyle Hamilton may be that guy. I think it's between Kayvon Thibodeau and Kyle Hamilton, because Kyle Hamilton's going to be a huge impact for that Ravens defense. You're going to see how fast they're going to be flying this season. But then Kayvon Thibodeau gave the Giants a defensive player that they desperately needed, and also essentially probably the best defender on their team, arguably, is Kayvon Thibodeau. When you look about what he's able to do on defense and how he's able to impact the offense on other opposing teams. Not yet, because it's college. I'm talking about college, but in the NFL, I think it'll be the same result.
I mean, we got 2 Thibodeaus in New York, bro. Oh man,
Both defensive minded.
Most defensive minded. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't get drafted to the Knicks, man. I mean,
man.
I can't get enough of this. Look, my biggest steal of the draft. There's a couple ways I can go with this. I could go Jermaine Johnson with the Jets. Listen, he was on the board for a long time, and the Jets was like, "Are we really going to be able to get this guy?" Oh yeah, they got him. They was able to trade up and get him. I could easily go there, but who are we kidding? I'm an offensive guy. I love offense. I like defense too, but I love offense. So I'm going to stay to my roots here and go offense. I'm going to go Jameson Williams, draftee out of Alabama, wide receiver to the Detroit Lions. I'm going to go him because a lot of people passed up on him because of that injury that he suffered in the national championship game. He's clearly probably not going to be able to roll week 1. But the Lions are one of the teams that afforded to be patient. They know they're playing the patient game. When they traded Matthew Stafford and they got a boatload of picks, that was them saying, listen, we are going to be patient here. We've been dysfunctional for 40 years. 45 years ain't going to make a difference. We're going to take 5 years to just go from the ground up, go from the roots, and build back something that could be known as a solid culture compared to a situation where careers go to die. Now, I know Jameson Wilson, I don't think he liked that pick because you can see it in his facial expressions. The guy was like, get out. Like the movie Get Out. Like, yeah, I understand. I feel your pain, but the history. But honestly, I would tell my guy Jameson Wilson to have a clean contract heart. Yeah. That you will not despise, my brother. Because when you go to the Lions, I really think they are building something. Right now, listen, I know what they're known for. Everybody knows what they're known for. All right, Calvin Johnson, career, went there to die. Retired early. Barry Sanders went there to die. Retired early. Matthew Stafford leaves there 1 year, get a championship. I mean, come on, it's self-explanatory. But when you look at what they're doing and how they're drafting and some of the talent on this team, give them about 5 years, okay? They may be a team that possibly could be able to compete in this division, okay? Listen, the Packers is not as good as they were yesterday. Okay, the Vikings soon may lose Kirk. Who are they going to replace him with? All right, the Bears, we don't know what they're doing with Justin Fields. They are like 3 to 5 years away from actually competing in this division and possibly winning it. When you look at their wide receivers, Amon St. Brown that nobody talks about. He's known as the fantasy king. He was a fantasy king that I got off the daggone waiver wire. In like week 14, he won me my championship, bro. You know what I'm saying? The guy was putting up historical numbers. The guy was literally, in the back end, was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL from a productivity standpoint. You also got him. You got Hawkinson. You got Williams now, a guy that can go by the defenders. Great route runner, speed. I mean, the college tape speaks for itself. The guy can get past anybody. With that speed, I think that was the biggest steal of this draft because even though he's not going to play in week 1, he may play in week 7, week 6, who knows? But when he does play, the Lions got themselves a weapon to go along with the other talented receiving groups that they got here, along with the other good solid picks like Aiden Hutchinson. The list goes on. My biggest steal of the draft was Jameson Williams going from Alabama to Detroit.
Real quick, I think I have one real solidified option. I think right here, I think this guy, I was kind of high about when I saw him get drafted and I saw his highlights. Jordan Davis on the Eagles, 6'6", 341. The guy runs a 4.7 and 340 pounds. That's ridiculous. The guy is speedy, to say the least, at 340 pounds. There's some quarterbacks who weigh 200 that can't run a damn 5. So that's amazing how fast he is at defensive line. I think his tenacity is going to be crazy, especially coming from a Georgia system where they praise defense, and the Eagles is one team.
They took over the draft. Georgia took over the draft.
That right there, between that and then the AJ Brown thing, the Eagles team is looking stout. So I think that Jordan Davis pick is going to be pay dividends right away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you can also throw in this one team too, and I know it may sound a little bit odd because of who they traded, but the Titans is another team that I like at least they top moves, the top two moves that they made, or one of the moves that stand out, two of them. Getting a guy like Treylon Burks. You know, I know they traded AJ Brown, but as me and Zay we are big Treylon Burks fans here on the show. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, I think Treylon Burks could arguably be the number one wide receiver at this class. Mm-hmm. You know, I go back and forth between him and Williams. I think Williams have slightly more upside, but I think Treylon Burks is right under there. Like this guy can do it all. He can block, he can catch, slot, intermediate, downfield. He can do it all. I think when you look at an offense that's really not even pass heavy to begin with, they run the football to begin with Derrick Henry and that monster to begin with Ante Foreman to begin with. I mean, you look at the wide receiving core, Treylon Burks could instantly take on some of that production that AJ Brown is leaving by going to the Eagles, and also drafting and Malik Willis. I mean, look, Malik Willis to me has the biggest upside out of any quarterback in this class, other than Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. I actually like that cat. I watched his highlights a little bit too late before I did my quarterback talk before the draft. I watched it a little bit too late. I was a little bit too late because I would have definitely gave him some light of day. That's another guy, Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis. No shots at Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett will have his opportunities to compete day one and be the starter. But I think getting a guy like Malik Willis, we all know Tannehill cannot win this team a Super Bowl. It was evident. Guy threw 3 interceptions in the playoff game. He is not a truck. He is a truck. Well, actually, he's not. He's a trailer. They pick him up. Okay. Honestly, Malik Willis could be that guy that can sit behind Tannehill for a year and compete for his job instantly after that. So I look at the Titans, another move too. And we talked about this move more so on Friday. I could look at Marquis Brown to the Cardinals. I'll say that's my biggest steal, and A.J. Brown to the Eagles. Those are two big steals right there for the beneficiaries, not the other end. The guys that got these guys services like the Eagles and the Cardinals, guys that can be plug-in players, clearly. I mean, you going to have A.J. Brown on the bench? You dumbass? No, they're going to be guys that's going to be able to make a big, profound impact on their respective new destinations. One more team here, because I did talk about Desmond Ridder. The Falcons got Desmond Ridder. You know, Marcus Mariota, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. He's definitely not the guy. Okay, look, getting a guy like Desmond Ridder over there to compete with him, he will have a chance to be day one starter. You know, he has a chance. Drake London, one of my favorite receivers in the class. You got that dude over there, physical wide receiver. You're downhill, take that bomb type of wide receiver that can make contested catches downfield. You got that guy alongside Kyle Pitts. So when you thinking about how this offense will look, just visualizing it before we even see it, you got two big play physical threats in Kyle Pitts that you got to be physical with in the inside, and a wide receiver in Drake London who you will have to be physical with on the outside. Two physical specimens on the inside and outside that makes for a big explosion once Calvin Ridley get off his suspension of a year. You fast forward 2 years, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Holy.
The Can You Dig It Sports Radio Network is here. Revolutionize the game of media. Be a dig.